Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode on Eat, Live and Be Well. So today we are going to talk about puberty in teenagers. We're continuing the series focusing on children and teenagers. My name is Dr. Dennis Nturibi and welcome to today's show on Eat, Live and Be Well. Now, the questions have been asked repeatedly. What happens with teenagers? We hear mothers, or actually mothers come to the clinic and they're like, my child has always been a very calm child. Then they got to 13 or 14 or 15 and something went wrong. They just went crazy. What is happening? It's interesting that actually as part of our school curriculum, the changes in puberty are taught typically at standard 7 and standard 8 level. However, what is learned in school and what actually happens out in the real world might have some disparity. Now, according to some inbuilt clock that really is beyond our understanding, certain changes are triggered at a specific age in specific children. Puberty, we typically says starts at about 13 when children get to their teens. However, the reality is we've seen children get into puberty as early as 6 years of age, sometimes as late as 17. So it's really dependent on the individual and there are not two people who are the same. Now, according to this biological clock, when these changes set in, specific hormones are released by what we call the sex organs or the sex gonads. For men, that is, or for boys, that is the testis, and for girls, that is the ovary. And it is these hormones that really trigger all the specific changes that we notice. So I'll give you an example. So you have a young man who hits puberty and his body starts making extra testosterone, and this comes from the testes. This extra testosterone it's a significant amount. I mean, just picking arbitrary numbers, it's things like you could say initially before puberty it was at 1. In puberty it is at 1,000. The change is so dramatic. And many times the amount of testosterone might actually even be higher than in a man who is in his 20s or 30s. And of course, with a change in process like this, you have some ups and downs. So the body takes some time to stabilize, and that some time is the teenage years. And some of the changes that happen when the testosterone kicks in is the obvious things you note. So your boy who used to sing in the alto part of the choir cannot sing there anymore because now his voice is all over the place. It gets deeper, it's cracked. It takes some years before it achieves a standard tone. So sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low, and those are the changes that come in. Then of course you notice growth of hair, facial hair sets in, hair in the armpits or groin area starts growing. Especially in boys, you see a sudden change in size. Okay, so a boy who was fairly small suddenly starts growing phenomenally. Of course, that growth comes with a huge appetite. So they also start eating, typically, say they eat like a horse. And some of the unseen changes that are not so obvious is the sexuality of the boy also changes quite a bit. So he has an onset or a new sex drive that was actually absent before puberty. And this of course can cause quite a bit of challenges because girls who are really not an object of interest previously suddenly become irresistible. Boys get very awkward because one day they didn't notice the girls and the next day they start noticing the girls, and of course mentally they've not matured to know what to do with that. So there's a lot of awkwardness that sets in. And other things can happen, like the breasts can grow. So quite a number of boys develop gynecomastia in this period, and this is when they have breasts that look like a girl's breast, and that is part of the change and actually is not anything abnormal. Of course, the same changes happen in girls, and the hormone in girls that mediate puberty is mostly estrogen. I'm saying mostly because it's not that simple. There's a range of hormones that come into play, especially in the girls. But again, even with the girls, you notice growth of underarm and growing hair, the breasts start to grow, their body shape changes, and their hips start to develop. Girls at this point actually can gain quite a bit of weight. The weight can change up, okay? And of course, their sex drive also changes, and they start feeling attracted to the opposite sex. Now, these changes, as much as we've studied them in the books, when they happen to you as a teenager, they can be very dramatic and very disturbing. I think from a medical perspective, it's important to help parents understand that children need to be guided through this period. Girls should be talked to about their menses before they come in. You can imagine if you're a girl and no one has ever told you might get vaginal bleeding or what to expect. It can be very shocking and very disturbing. However, thanks to all the knowledge we have in the modern world, it should not be difficult to educate our children on these things. Now, going back to especially my area of interest, which is lifestyle and wellness, teenagers, especially at the puberty phase, should be fed real food and good food. Again, if we are into the habit of giving high-calorie snacks and foods to our teenagers, they'll end up getting large, some of them. Very interestingly, not all the teenagers will become overweight or obese. Because of the increased metabolism, they may not gain weight. But this does not necessarily mean that they are healthy. And what we see happening is teenagers who are fairly small, as they come to the end of puberty, when things sort of slow down, then their weight can blossom or balloon suddenly. Because during the teenage years, they got into the habits of eating foods that are not the most nutritious, but are also the highest in caloric content. And that then becomes a habit, and after the puberty is passed, what you discover is that the young adult starts ballooning at a very early age, and they become overweight and obese in their early 20s. Therefore, parents, please get educated yourselves first. The reality is a lot of us parents were not guided through puberty. So you really might not have the tools of what to do for your child. Therefore, educate yourself first and then start working with your children from an early age to help them understand what puberty is. And that puberty is not a crisis. And be gentle, be patient. There will be ups and downs, things that you don't expect. Some of the children will act out. It's not the end of the world. It is a phase and it will pass. In terms of physical activity, it's critical that teenagers are engaged in a lot of physical activity, especially the boys. Okay, and therefore, because you see, puberty also comes with this surge of energy, and all that sexual energy must be directed somewhere, because these young teenagers are not ready to be parents. Okay, that's why sports clubs like soccer clubs, cycling clubs, athletics clubs, martial arts clubs are very good for teenagers in helping them express and spend that energy, so that when they come home in the evening, they are quite calm. Here at Eat, Live and Be Well, we are working with you to educate you on lifestyle issues, to educate you on health, nutrition and physical activity, so that we can all work together as a community towards attaining better health standards. Feel free to reach out to us. Our contacts are shared below, and it will be our pleasure to work with you. My name is Dr. Dennis Nturibi, and have a lovely week.